So welcome, Dominic. Welcome to Aforza London HQ number 2. Coming live from the BrewDog Waterloo Podcast Project studio. Absolute pleasure to have our CEO and co-founder of Aforza, Dominic Dinardo, with us today. Dominic, welcome.
Thank you, Andrew. And it's very exciting, this, isn't it? It's very, very cool. I really liked what BrewDog have done with the place. And for those of you that are just in audio and can't see anything, we're actually in this new flagship amazing bar that's been set up. I think it's the largest in the UK or something, or
that's
supposed
right,
to be. I mean, I'm looking across here. There's bowling lanes. There's a slide from the top floor. There's hotlines to order your cocktails or indeed ice creams, whatever you want. Like, it's an amazing place, and it's got podcast booths.
Right on, right.
It's like whenever somebody was designing this, why would you put the podcast booths beside the bowling lanes? But whatever the thinking was, I'm grateful we're here.
Yeah.
And it's exciting because we're going to be here again tomorrow. Well, for those of you, depends when you're playing this, with a flagship event with our customer BrewDog speaking, which I'm excited about as well.
Absolutely. And I think what's really exciting is it's a stone throw away from our office. I'm sure we could probably pick up the Wi-Fi from here, right?
Yeah.
Pros and cons.
But, I know it's very popular secondary location with all of our employees, so that's a fringe benefit. Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, Dominic, thanks so much for joining us. And really, this is the Employee Insights podcast, right? So we talk to the real Aforza about what's going on, what are the issues that we're here to solve, what are the things that are keeping us focused, and really why people will want to come and work at Aforza. So really rolling up our sleeves, talking casually and getting to the details. But I'm really excited to be talking to you today because we're going to double down on the Aforza mission, really what we're about, and a term that I recently read about in Forbes magazine that you published around Sustainably Distributed Consumer Goods. So this switch to SDCG that you talk so much about. We've let's take the floor and let's get going. But before we do that, do you mind just introducing yourself, not just your role at Aforza and why you started the company, but a bit about your history as well?
Sure. Okay, so I'll start with me. So as you already introduced me, I'm the CEO, co-founder of Aforza. But of course, apart from that, I'm a 51-year-old gentleman, married father of 2 wonderful daughters, lifetime career in technology. I'm a computer science graduate from a fantastic university, University of Glasgow. I've worked for Shell and IBM Tivoli prior in my career. I had a seminal part of my career in the Salesforce ecosystem where I ran the solution engineering team for Salesforce worldwide, which is a fantastic job. I learned all about cloud technology and helped forge that market. And obviously, Salesforce became a public company and we did really well. And I worked for other industry cloud companies like Viva and Velocity. For those of you who perhaps not so familiar with the term industry cloud, that's a type of company that's built on cloud technology but completely dedicated to a particular industry. Like Viva is dedicated to life sciences, or Velocity was predominantly dedicated to telcos and energy. And the reason why that's a thing is because when you do that, when you take an entire company and you say, this is what we're going to do, I'm going to take the world's greatest technologies to do it, you can make some special stuff happen. And we'll get into that perhaps when we talk more. But yeah, that's a quick synopsis of me. It also explains my accent. So I grew up in Scotland. Yeah.
There we go. And now at Aforza, an industry cloud for consumer goods, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And you actually touched on it and you started the question about SDCG, Sustainably Distributed Consumer Goods. I think everybody listening to this will have heard the expression FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods. And probably everybody listening to this has probably grown up in an age where you can go to shops and buy pretty much anything from anywhere in the world, probably at an incredibly reasonable price. And, whether it be coffees from Java or, herbs and spices from India, whatever it might be, we've lived in a world of an abundance. And in recent times, we have come to all of us be better educated, better aware about, the effects that we can have on the planet, environment, economy. And, in the last few years, we're probably even more acutely aware with things like, as we've recovered from the pandemic, what that interrupt to supply chain, what effects can happen to people when they go shopping, and we're now in an age of when we're seeing inflation. But like when you take all these challenges, I don't want to get all dramatic about them all, but like there are a lot of challenges right now we all experience around the world, particularly in the Western world. It's a different age. It's a different age from the world that we grew up in, when all this stuff was there and it was cheap and it was easy to get. We all of us aspire to. I think it's something all of us. If you ask anybody, like, do you want to have a better future, or for your kids, or better future for the planet and for all of us, or our standard of living? The obvious answer is yes, right? Of course we all do. But what's funny, Andrew, is what I've come to learn from being at Aforza and studying consumer goods and studying all the market and the companies and the software that basically is about getting the food and the drinks, the products we need to live, whether it be toothpaste or soft drinks or, just a beer, getting all that stuff from point A to point B that you, the consumer, can get. It's kind of a fascinating thing. And it's a lot more fragile, a lot more complex than the average consumer probably knows.
We take it for granted, right?
You do take it for granted, right? Because it's been easy.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I often see is, because I see a lot of times in the press, people getting upset and making statements about, big corporates doing bad things. And my experience from working with customers and people across the industry is, these are not bad people. They are good people. People work hard. They're trying to do things the right way. They're trying to solve problems. They're trying to, make their company successful, but they've got no intention of trashing the planet while they do it. The people are just like, everybody else, of course, but they're facing some major challenges. And some of the statistics, Andy, just to share with everybody is, for example, one of the things that I find mind-boggling is, 1/3 of all the food produced in the world ends up wasted. And it's particularly...
One third.
One third, right, 1/3. And a lot of that happens at different points of the process. A lot of it happens on the stage one at the farm, actually, and so on, all the way through by the time it makes it to you, or, in the supermarkets and so forth. 1/3 gets wasted, which, it's kind of galling, right? Because you think about it... today in the UK, a big political topic is food banks. I don't want anyone to go hungry in the United Kingdom or in the United States or in sub-Saharan Africa or anywhere. But the latest United Nations statistics I saw was, I think it was, I might have to get this right now, I think it was 8.9%, right? It's just a little less than 1 in 10, right? Little less than 1 in 10 of the world's population is hungry. Doesn't get enough food. So when you think about these things, when you think if you say them in the same sentences together, it just sounds nuts.
Yeah.
1/3 of food production wasted, 1 in 10 hungry. And here's the super conundrum about all of this is the consumer goods companies, the beverage companies, the people that, they don't want waste. That doesn't help their businesses. They're also thinking about, how do they promote their products? How do they get their products to the right places at the right time, at the right price? And that's surprisingly hard to do. And they spend, this is mind-boggling to me, they spend something like 25% of their revenues trying to promote those products. And statistically speaking, it just doesn't really work. They've got no real idea of the results. Obviously, I'll probably rephrase that. They have no clear view on the effectiveness of that spend. And we're talking about billions and billions of dollars to promote products, 1/3 of which get wasted, and 1 in 10 people go hungry. So my view on Aforza is, with SDCG, Sustainably Distributed Consumer Goods, is, look, if we can just make the world a tiny percentage better at this, obviously Aforza is about building a great company, about a great environment for careers, a great environment, to help customers achieve results, etc. But if we can do all that, if we can build an incredible proposition that gets people promoted for choosing Aforza, if we do all that, plus at the same time let everyone just make the world a little bit better for solving these issues, it just gives me a better sense of purpose.
Right on.
And if you're listening to this and you're thinking about, a future career choice. I think, hopefully you're looking at Aforza. We're a growing company. We need all the help we can get, But when you're making your career choices, you think about it, I think having a sense of purpose is really important. One of the things I never forget, because a big part of my career was working at Salesforce, and I was very fortunate to be part of Mark Benioff, the leader of Salesforce, his management team. And something he said in the early days of the company, which really stuck in my brain, was he used to work at Oracle, which, he had a good career there, a good career everywhere. But he said to me, after a while, when it became the quarterly grind and it was all about the numbers, it just didn't motivate him. What was the deeper sense of purpose? What was the mission?
You need that, right?
You need that. And of course, Aforza is a regular company. We have we have to do our numbers. We have to run it like a proper organization. But for me, my deeper sense of purpose comes from this whole concept. What can we do afterwards, Andrew, that when we, Aforza is going to be a successful company, it's going to run for decades and decades. But at the end of the day, like when you and I retire one day, I want that sense of when we meet for a beer and a catch-up, what we did was a good thing.
Right on.
We can feel good that what we did had that, incremental difference to everybody,
Right on. And we'll touch on some of the business impacts in a minute, because we are having that impact, right?
Yeah.
I think that's very exciting. But just to recap there, you said some really important things, right? You said that in the world, 1/3 of all food and beverage that gets produced goes to waste, but still 1 in 10 people in the world go to bed hungry. So there's this need for SDCG, Sustainably Distributed Consumer Goods. And I think you talk about purpose for a company, and I think there's nothing more important to that. That's something that impacts humanity, the planet, right?
Absolutely.
And what are some of the things that Aforza does that can address SDCG directly? What are some of the things that we solve for our customers in that space?
Wow, well, there's probably a whole list of things. I'll start with some simple, easy things, and then build up. Well, straight away out of the gates, when you use the Aforza products, it helps you, the consumer goods company, take your products to market. So it helps you with your promotions, it helps you with your order capture processes. But what's important against this mission, this value point, is in these processes, it uses artificial intelligence to make predictions to be more accurate, avoid wastage. It helps you promote products with recyclable packaging, for example, in different ways, sustainably distributed, right? It helps you connect your planners and headquarters with your field sales teams or your e-commerce sites or your telesales organizations all together, so that you actually have this end-to-end view of what's going on. And this brings in a whole real-time element to it that lets you make decisions in the moment, Andrew, so that you're not blind to the way it works. You see, the funny thing about consumer goods, we all rely on it. It's been around literally for hundreds of years. But very often, the consumer goods companies, are particularly the manufacturers, they have a very remote view of what actually happens at the point of sale. And you see this because companies have sprung up, over the years, selling data back to them about what's happening. Yeah. You see these data, but it's always lagging indicators. It's always like what has happened. Hey, and you find that what a typical pattern would be is, for the consumer goods company would be is, hey, let's plan our business plan for 1 or 2 years. What did we do last year? What promotions did we do? Let's cut and paste that. Let's tweak it a little bit based on what we think. What data did we get from what happened from this? Put it in some computer somewhere and spew some stuff out. But it's not, those models there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but how does that work when inflation suddenly changes rapidly? Yeah. Or how does that work when you've got a supply chain problem?
Things are real time, right?
Things are real time. It's great when we've had 10 years of nothing changes.
Yeah.
Right.
You predict it, right?
Yeah. And now, how does any of that work? Right. And you need different solutions. You probably need a different mindset. You need different processes. You need to have a different go-to-market mentality. But behind it all, you need the systems to give you the agility and controls and visibility to do this. And that's what Aforza is all about.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now you touched on some really important things there. You talked about enabling customers to have a real-time view of what's going on, enabling customers to know the stock they've got, being able to up and cross-sell in the moment. Have you got any customer examples of that you'd like to share?
Brilliant one, actually. And later in October, we'll be doing a webcast with Distell, Craig Price from Distell. Distell's a multi-billion-dollar company. They've just been acquired by Heineken, interestingly enough. And they found with Aforza, they were doing so. What I love about this case study, what I love about what Craig's done is, it's just Craig's great. He just relentlessly measures everything, right? And he knew when he started the project that the average order value in Distell in South Africa, and they're in Southern Africa and in Asia and other places, but in South Africa, he knew the average order they were taking was 18,000 rand. And now, because their sales teams are now equipped with Aforza out in the field, where they can see, for example, even when they're disconnected from the internet, they have visibility of the stock they have in hand. They're getting pushed the recommendations for cross-selling and upselling. Now, because of all that, because they can credit check the customers right then there on the spot, right? Because of all this information, you can see it like the sales guys are selling. It's just you can just see it in their transactions. In fact, there's a video actually I've seen of them talking to the customers where they say like, "Oh, I haven't got product A, but you know what? I can sell you product B," and the customer says something like, "I don't know if I can afford to buy product B," and he says like, "You've got credit, and
Real time, right?
real time."
Yeah.
So starter project, 18,000 rand. Guess what it is now?
25.
46,000 rand. 46. So
More
from
than-
18
more
to
than
46.
twice.
Yeah,
More
more
than
than
double.
double.
Wow.
More than double. I mean, I've been in CRM since 2002, so that's a
seen some
20
stuff, right?
20-year history in Salesforce automation, and I've heard all sorts of things over the years and all sorts of statistics. This is actual, measurable,
That's staggering.
proven. Guess how long it took?
18 months. Well, no, Aforza 12.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Obviously, we're because we're very much out of the box, and this is really about configuration projects. Things go very, very quickly. But the time from go live to that improvement, which I think is really interesting. So it took them from there was a lot of thought and planning, but the actual product implementation took around 6 months. But the 18,000 to 46,000 took 6 months. I think the period roughly I measured it was 6 months.
Game changer.
Game changing.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's not statistics from the 1990s or from 2010. That's from this year, the year when we have the supply chain issues, the year with the
Everything
inflation
we're talking about.
explosion,
Yep.
like all those things we were talking about before. That's now. That's what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess what's back to SDCG and Sustainably Distributed Consumer Goods. This is fantastic for them in terms of order value and revenue growth. But by being real time, by knowing what's in stock, it means less wastage. It means selling the right things. It means promoting things that are actually going to sell. So this is making a customer very successful, but also making the world a better place.
Exactly right. I can't add anything to what you're saying there. I completely agree. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, look, this has been a fantastic podcast. Definitely one of the most exciting of the series. So thanks for joining us today. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with? Certainly from a what it's like to work at Aforza, and maybe why someone should come and join us here.
Yeah, maybe just for the last minute or so, I would just, especially if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, do you know what, that's a really interesting story, and they would like to, come and join us in the journey. They would just talk a bit about the vision and values of the company. Our vision is to improve the lives of every consumer in the world on whatever channel they engage. And I think probably I don't have to go over that now because probably the spirit of that is captured in what we talked about earlier. But I just wanted to say that, Aforza's now got customers, I think in excess of 25 countries, maybe even near 30 actually. And it's kind of funny, but you start to see it already. We've started to see funny stories of people bumping into Aforza users in bars in Portugal, or the funny story about somebody meeting an Aforza user in South Africa while they were there on vacation, and all over the place.
We're here at BrewDog today,
We're
right?
in BrewDog today.
Yeah.
We are starting to get closer to the vision, and so improve the lives of every consumer in the world and every channel. But very grandiose vision, but in a funny sort of way, sort of coming true already. And then the values which are really important to the company are growth, customer success, trust, and human. So just a couple of seconds in this. Right, growth. Growth is about growing the company. It's about growing people as individuals. It's about growing within a team. It's about everybody growing together, right? And it's a really important shared value. Customer success, obviously, without successful customers, we would be nowhere. We have to form long-term partnerships and be vested in our customer success. Our customers succeeding means we succeed. We want to create a virtuous cycle. And I say it kind of with a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I can't really mean it. Our job is to get the people that buy Aforza promoted.
Yep.
Like they made a really good choice. And then trust. Trust is really important. Like, we have to live up to the values. We have to do what we say. We have to be committed to getting our customers live, to doing the things we commit to do inside the company professionally, and we have to trust each other to do it. And that's a really important thing. And then finally, human, because as we've already talked about, if it isn't about the betterment of ourselves and our societies and everywhere we live and just generally across the world, what's the point of it?
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed this. Thanks for giving me the chance. I've actually got to say, it's a really very, very cool place to do this podcast.
It is, isn't it?
It's very good.
And so it's like mid-morning and the place is already busy. So it's.
Well, Andrew, just before we wrap up, let's just I'm gonna flip it on you a little bit.
Come on.
Yeah. So how long have you been with Aforza now?
It's come close to 2 years.
2 years, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, in this time you've been with Aforza, how's your job changed?
It changes every single day. I think someone that's been in the industry for 20 years, I thought I knew it all. And it changes every day. There's always something different to do. But I think a lot of the values that you talked about, coming to work, making a difference, making a change, is just...
Well, I know I've put you on the spot, so maybe I'll just prompt you with some of the things you've done in 2 years that maybe people would find interesting, because you and I knew each other from before. You were running marketing for Europe in Velocity.
Yep.
And you had some senior positions in companies like Infor. Now, in the time you've worked for Aforza, have you ever done podcasts like this in BrewDog locations?
No, absolutely not. And I think just on that, I think it's the difference here is you have an idea and you execute it. If it's not that day, it's the next day. There's none of this like, oh, that's a project for 3 months' time, 6 months' time, let's do that next quarter. Everything, like our software, is real time, right?
Real time, right.
We have an idea, we execute it. And so you're right, I think myself and the team that I run here, we're doing things, we're flipping, we're pivoting every single day to make a difference. And it's
motivating, right?
It is.
And liberating.
Absolutely. And adding value, which is very exciting.
Andrew, thanks for everything you're doing for us.
No problem. Thank you. Quite a flip. And let's just conclude that. Thanks so much. Thank you, Dominic. It's a really exciting podcast. And like I say to everybody in all the episodes, if you like what you hear about Aforza, you like what we're covering here, get in touch. It would be lovely to speak to you and take things forward. So thanks again, Dominic.